And good morning and welcome to Coach's Corner here on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Bill Dixon and Coach Kaz Szynal alongside with Jon Reutebuch, the head football coach of the Wabasee Warriors. Coach Reutebuch, thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning.
Appreciate you inviting us into your program. Wabasee last night opened the regular season of football play for the first time ever, taking on the Tippy Valley Vikings, brought them up here to Warrior Field. Unfortunately, Valley came out on the bigger end of the stick last night, but give us your impressions of the evening.
Well, we had a lot of new faces out on the field last night, and, you never know going into that first game what you're going to see. I mean, you prepare and you scrimmage and you do a lot of things all summer long, but until that whistle blows and you play that first game, you're not really sure what's going to go on. And, we had a new quarterback and we had some new faces on the field at tailback and some other positions. And I think that was part of the issue for us. We turned the ball over way too many times. You turn the ball over, and, that was one of the keys of the game. Don't turn the ball over and cause turnovers, and we can't check that box. Tippy Valley came in inspired. They have a lot of skill players that came back from last year. I think they have 3 seniors on their line. So it's a team that probably has high expectations to win their conference this year and had a good season last year. And, they've had some things going on pretty well for them. And I know they played very inspired. The young man that passed away last spring, they were playing for the hymn last night, and read an article about that, and kids were all decked out in the shirts, and the players were pointing to the sky and things like that. So it was a team that was very motivated and very focused on coming into Warrior Field and making a statement. And I think our kids felt good going in, and we had a lot of issues with cramping and things like that.
Well, it was a nasty night for cramping. That high heat and high humidity, that's something that does happen at the front end of the high school season.
Yeah, and we had a lot of it. So, that's something we're going to have to work on and make sure that kids, we say it every day at practice, eat, sleep, and hydrate. And I'm not sure if we didn't do that enough, but it seemed like it hit us a little bit harder than it did Tippy Valley.
Coach, that was one of the big things that Bill and I were talking about. Those kids, we thought, oh, gee, another injury. And the kid would just slowly get up and limp off the field. And the humidity last night, it's 28 steps from the bottom of there all the way to the.
Yeah, it's a long walk up there.
Yes, for me, but when you're almost 90, that's a long walk. One of the things Coach said from Tippy Valley, one of his comments was that he had to stop number 6, and he knew about that your quarterback was going to be one of the main keys to this. So how did he know that? I mean,
they get
ahead.
a scrimmage film.
Okay.
And who knows what else is, where they get their information. But, Lucas is a weapon for us. I mean,
yes.
Case in point, we put him out at receiver and he goes and catches a touchdown,
Yeah.
He's definitely a playmaker, and we're going to have to do a better job of putting him around in positions to make plays, just not from the quarterback position all the time, but he does give us that aspect of a running quarterback. And, they had an overhang player out there just waiting on him for the read, and that was a problem for us. There's some other parts of our game that we need some more playmakers. We need some other guys to step up and make some plays. And like I said, we had some new faces out there. The Friday Night Lights. And, they'll get better. We'll get better.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll start to develop some guys that give us more than one playmaker at a time. And we know we have them. We have them on the team. And like I said, high school kids. First Friday night, there's some things that didn't get done or they've been doing all week or all summer, and then inexplicably they don't do it the right way, and it just happens sometimes. And so, first game of the season, half the teams in Indiana lost last night.
Yeah, right.
So
very good.
They always talk about between the first game and the second game is your chance for the biggest improvement. And seeing what we have, seeing where we're at right now as a team, that's where we got to move forward and build on and fix some of the things. Looking at film last night, there's so many plays that if we would have just made this block, or if we just did this, or if we just came down on this play on defense. I mean, there were so many plays like that. It was opening kickoff. We knew how they were going to kick it off. We had a return set up. There was a huge hole there, but we missed one block, and that was the kid that made the tackle. I mean, it's just little things like that we're going to just have to keep correcting and fixing and getting guys adept at taking what we do in practice out to the field.
How do you go ahead, Bill?
I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that even amplifying the normal growth from game 1 to game 2 would be the fact that Tippecanoe Valley, first of all, very seasoned team, playing option football, Pop Warner double wing option football. TRC people play that. Nobody else around here plays that. So, well, very few play that. So it's not something we're going to see, the veer, the dive, the sweep, the veer, the dive, the sweep, the veer, the dive, the sweep. We're not going to see that very much the rest of the year. So when you're seeing something so unusual up front, and then you're getting into the kind of football we're used to playing against Northern Lakes Conference schools, that leaves this vacuum that I would think could create even greater improvement then between week 1 and week 2.
Yeah, we had an idea of what they were going to do on
I'm not
offense.
saying we didn't know. No, I'm just saying that it's so different from what we normally experience.
Yeah, we see that with the flex bone. When we go against Mishawaka and Warsaw, and we played Fairfield this summer, and they run the flex bone. So we see things similar, and a lot of what they were running is very similar to flex bone. 2 wings, a single back, and under center, that kind of thing. They just made plays. They really did. I mean, a play where it's the ball's behind and high to the receiver, and he just went back and caught it. I mean, breaking tackles, getting blocked on the ground and then getting up and making the tackle. I mean, they played well. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And, we just missed on some of those plays. They put the ball on the ground a whole bunch.
They did.
And we didn't get most of them. Just luck of the bounce, not being opportunistic. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. But when we turn the ball over or put the ball on the ground, we turn the ball over. When they put the ball on the ground, for some reason, we didn't get it. So, sometimes that's a luck of the bounce.
I just thought they were very deceptive on their offense. I mean, playing defense would be really difficult, especially if you're a linebacker or you're a corner. They were just very good about deception on their offensive line.
They ran their offense well. Yeah, no doubt about it. But again, schematically, we knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And our kids knew what they were doing. They knew what was coming. So it's not X's and O's. It's the Jimmy and Joes. You've heard that saying before. Yeah. They just executed at each position better than we did. And that's the bottom line. It's, they run their offense and pretty much in the second half, they just came right downhill and said, "We're going to come right at you. Stop us if you can." And we couldn't stop them.
Now, at 2 or 3 o'clock this morning, were you still watching the film?
Right around that time, I was probably just starting to wrap it up. That's
man,
life of a football coach.
It is the life of a football coach.
It is.
I don't think people realize.
I would never want to be a head football coach or basketball coach in the state of Indiana.
Yeah,
I mean, people do not. You and I have talked about this. People just do not realize the amount of work it takes and the amount of people that you have to deal with.
Yeah. Or they think it takes that for 10 weeks and then there's nothing.
Oh, yeah, right.
Which is
that
the
is
absolute
true. That's huge.
Not truth.
That is really huge. Coach, what do you tell the kids now? How do you go about getting them ready for how is practice going to be this morning?
Well, this morning it's bumps and bruises, so we'll get them in the pool and work out some of those kinks. That's a little lighter on the joints and the knees and everything, and get them loosened up. We have to do something today because of all lactic acid buildup, and especially after a game like last night, you got to bring them in and get them some exercise. So that's one thing we'll do. We're going to watch film. We're going to take a look at some things that we didn't do well and some things that we did do well, and try to build on that. And I told him last night before we came off the field that one game doesn't make a season.
Yeah,
we did not do what we wanted to do. I even said, I saw the paper quoted me. My talked to the team, but I said, we laid an egg tonight. There's no getting around that. We did not play our best football tonight, and all that means is we got to fix some things. We need to improve, and we need to get better. And we got till next Friday to get better, and then we get a chance to. The only way you wash away a bad taste in your mouth is your next opportunity. So we're looking forward to having the opportunity next Friday to feel better about where we're at.
How much of this next week is about West Noble, and how much of this next week is about us?
That's a great question, and it's probably a lot more about us right now. There's some kids that were very frustrated last night with their performance. They know they didn't do well, and they weren't pointing fingers at anybody else. They were pointing fingers at themselves, which is good. But
good.
At the same token, I think some of them put a little more pressure on themselves than they need to, and so we'll go through that. Everybody made mistakes. We do things as a team, and whether we win and celebrate as a team or we get through adversity as a team. So.
That's one of the neat things about sports. And it teaches kids from when they start sports to the very end. You're not going to win all your games.
Nope.
And you have it all. I've been, like I told Deke last night, I've been reading Sports Illustrated since about 4th grade because it was one of the free magazines that would come in. And, that when they lose, you have good coaches that talk about it and they regroup. And, you got a lot of work to do, Coach. And that's why I don't want to ever be in your shoes.
Well, and one kid I was talking to, I said, the sun will come up tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll be okay. Football is a game we like to compete in, and sometimes it doesn't go our way, but we'll be all right. We'll get you better. You'll get better, and we'll move on from here. So, yeah, that's definitely the mental aspect, and that's something that our team has struggled with for the last several years, and that's something we've been trying to work on is that mental toughness of pushing through and not getting down after something, bad play and getting down on yourself so bad after a bad game, and so that is the biggest challenge, and it's more about us than it is about West Noble probably this Friday night.
When we come back, we'll talk to Wabasee assistant football coach Eric Leffler here on Coach's Corner with Coach Jon Reutebuch on 93.7 FM The Mix on 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner with Coach Jon Reutebuch on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Coach, you've brought a couple of guests with you, and tell us who you brought for this segment.
Well, this morning we have Eric Leffler, who runs our Pee Wee program and does an excellent job with that. And thought we'd talk to him a little bit about our feeder program and what's going on there. Eric, how are the numbers looking for our Pee Wee program?
Yeah, we've actually had a really good turnout this year. We've got about 75 players, which is the largest number we've had probably in the last 3 or 4 years.
Excellent.
We've been in the 60s prior to that. So to see more kids out, I want to say post-COVID, but kind of post-COVID, I suppose.
Yep. It's
good to see those numbers go up. We thought we would see an opposite trend, and I think kids are excited to be out there, and we got some good things coming.
Good. Last year, we had to make some adjustments. You had a clinic for the kids, and then we encouraged them to participate in LYC football. So it's great to see that, the numbers, when we can finally go back to what we were doing before, we got the numbers up. And you want to break down the age levels that kids play in and what kind of league we participate in?
Yeah, so we're fortunate to be part of USA Football. We're part of their Heads Up program. So all of our coaches are certified on proper tackling techniques, ways to reduce concussion, those sorts of things, right? We're trying to reduce injuries, make the sport as safe as possible. And in that, we separate them out into different age groups. So our first group is our 7 and 8 year olds. We call that rookie tackle, and that's a modified football. So that's 7-on-7, smaller field. We found that this will be our 3rd season doing that, and we found that that's really helped kids to be able to learn how to fall and learn how to take on that contact without injury and all those basics that you think just come naturally. And so that's been really good for us, and I think that's helped to build our numbers at the other levels, right? And so then we go up to our 9 and 10 year old. That's your normal 11-on-11, but we're very strict with weight limits and with age groups and things like that for safety purposes. We call that our pony group. And then we've got our Broncos, which is our 11 and 12-year-olds, usually our 5th and 6th graders. And that's where you start to see the kids develop into athletes. You start to see it really come to fruition. And really, that's why it's a great feature program, right? You know, we got to meet with you guys this summer. All of our coaches met with your staff. And, you know, if we can get that system moving up, by the time they're in that 5th and 6th grade group, they've been doing this stuff for 3 or 4 years. They're starting to really get it, right? And if we can continue that through the junior high and high school level, then
absolutely. You've been great with that and getting your coaches to come to those meetings and to listen to what we're trying to do and you know, getting the right people in place, because that's kids' introduction to football. You know, that's their first taste of it, and so we want them to have a good experience. We want them to learn it the right way, and as you said, you know, they learn it in Pee Wee and they carry that on to middle school, and then they carry it on to high school. We're going to have a successful program. So that's absolutely right on spot with what we need to do as a program. You want to talk a little bit about your coaches, some of the people that are helping out?
Yes, we've got a great coaching staff. We've got several coaches at all levels. So starting at our rookie levels, we've got Cole Warner and Cameron Erb. Cameron was a previous Wawasee Warrior. Played high school football for us here.
Remember Cameron?
He really knows the culture. He's great with the kids. Cole as well. Cole's helped me with wrestling as well. Just a really good guy. We're fortunate to have him in the community. And then if we go to our ponies, we've got another Wawasee Warrior alumni in Michael Kirby. He's helping out there, and then Austin Parrish as well. So two alumni there, along with Mark Baskerville. The 3 of them have really put together some good things with the kids. At our Bronco level, our 5th and 6th grades, we've actually got 2 teams. So our numbers were high enough there that we got to split them into 2 teams. It's the first time in several years that's happened.
That's awesome.
On one team, we've got our head coach is Pat Moore. Pat's been very involved in the community. Another alumni is Robbie McKibben is helping out there. And then Mike Fowler, who also runs our baseball league. So 3 guys who are very involved in the community. On the other side, we've got Marcus Miller, who's been phenomenal all season long. In the off season, he's always helping me out with stuff. He's kind of heading up that group. We've got Chad Brennaman there. He's been with us for a good 5 or 6 years. And then we've got Scott Hatfield. It's his first year coaching. He's been a lot of help. And then Randy Smith, who's come in and out of the program. So we've got coaches all throughout, helping at all levels. And then we've got, you know, administrative help. You know, Ben Garden's been with us for a long time. He's still helping with administrative stuff. And then Chris Cotton being back with Wawasee, he's always been a huge help. So.
Yeah. Chris has been part of that Pee Wee program for a long time as director and coaching and things like that. Good. The teams you play. Talk a little bit about the teams, you know, what the Pee Wee program, you know, a schedule for the Pee Wee kids would look like.
Yeah, so we're part of the Northern Indiana Youth Football League, and so we've got several different areas, local areas. We've got Warsaw, we've got Tippy Valley, who we saw last night. We've got Fairfield. Elkhart joined our league this year, and then we start going further west. We've got Knox, LaVille, North Judson. We've actually got the Region Outlaws are part of our league, and so is Wheeler. So we do have some travel. It's kind of like a travel baseball thing, where some games you're traveling an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to. We try to minimize that. We're trying to get to an East and West division where we can kind of stay closer to home and play those teams that we're going to see at the next level in middle school and high school. But sometimes we do have to go west and travel out that way, and it's good. But what's really neat about our league is a lot of those teams, the new ones that are coming in, the Wheelers, the Region Outlaws, they're coming from a Pop Warner system where it wasn't really being taught the proper way. They were seeing a lot of injuries. They didn't have the kids' best interest in mind at times. And that's what's really cool about our league. Being a part of USA football, all of the coaches throughout our league are teaching us the right way. They're making it a safe sport, and I think that's why our numbers are going up, is it's really attracting kids to us.
Eric, can you expand on that a little bit? What is it about USA football that helps those coaches? What is it about USA football that makes it a better kind of organization, a better kind of league?
Yeah, so USA Football's put a lot of time, effort, research into proper tackling skills. They've worked with the NFL, they've worked with all the professionals on this, and they've gone to a heads-up tackling technique. We're trying to take the head out of the game, right? From blocking to tackling, everything in between. We don't want head contact. That's the end of it, right? And so we're leading with the shoulder. We're tackling with the shoulder. We're wrapping. We're rolling. We're doing different things to tackle. We're not teaching them to put their head on the ball and put their head across the belly and do all those things that we were maybe taught as athletes. And so it's efficient, it's effective. If you watch a lot of the videos that we get trained on are the Seattle Seahawks, right? And they've got that great defense over the years, but they're using the same tackling techniques, the shoulder tackles and things like that. And we're seeing results, right? We're seeing numbers of injuries go down because of this. But they have a full certification process, so not a single coach in our league can step on that field unless they've been certified through USA Football, which makes it consistent across the board.
And what does that certification process entail?
So it's lengthy. It's a good 8 hours of online certification, watching videos, taking tests. You have to pass the test to qualify, right? All of our coaches are background checked and everything else as well. They do have, COVID has kind of hindered that, but they do have some in-person training seminars as well. And so some of our coaches over the years have gone down to the Indianapolis Colts training facility and worked with other coaches from the NFL, from the college ranks, things like that, to really put ourselves through those situations so we can get better at feeling and seeing the technique so that we can teach it better to them as well.
All right. Thanks, Eric, for coming in. That's a very well put together a program, how you do things, what's going on there, and that's only going to bode well for Wawasee football and all the work. I want to thank you and all the coaches that are putting in the time. And it's not only good for the football program, it's good for the community. And getting kids active and involved in sports, especially at a young age, is probably even more vital today than it ever has been. So really appreciate your efforts and the coaches' efforts, and thanks for coming in.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, one more thing real quick is, you saw it last night, right? We had the recognition night for the kids last night, and that's what we really want to cultivate, I think, is just that community and that system, right? That culture that we want from top to bottom. And, it didn't work out this year. I've been talking to the girls at Lakeland Youth Center, but I'd love to see the flag kids out there with us, and I'd love to see the middle school kids out there and see the whole program on one field at one time. That's how we're going to get that culture, and I think that we're on the way to that. So
yeah, there's a plan in place. We want to try, if we can somehow make it happen, get a big picture of the whole program.
That's really how the teams that have built dynasties, they build systems. And it goes all the way down. You talk about the Jimtown Jimmies. For years they've had that. Bremen Lions, they got the long green line. That's really critical in today's world. Not for many, many reasons. We've always known it was critical on the W's and L's. But it's critical on keeping kids healthy, and it's critical in community involvement. And I know that's so important for both of you. Talk a little bit about your community involvement as a league, the folks that are helping you out with your league, because I know there are some.
I'm not sure what your question is, really. I guess.
Well, I know there are folks that are helping you, maybe parents that are bringing.
Yeah, we've got Crystal Malone, someone who's been amazing to us. I'm involved in a lot of other things outside of football, which is why I was confused by your question. But Crystal Malone, she's our concessions manager, and without her, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of things we do. The Knights of Columbus, we just did 2 fundraisers with them that really helped to support our program and keep our costs down for the families, and they've been great. We got to do a pancake breakfast with them. We got to do a bingo night with them. So we're always looking for opportunities within the community. I know that the football team has sent people out to help with the Kiwanis Triathlon and things like that. And so getting involved with the kids in the community, getting out there, seeing them do things in the community, volunteer their time, they start to see that, they start to get that community involvement. And I think that's where it starts, right? If we can get these kids involved at a young age, not just in sport, but in community, I think that's where we really win. So.
And by necessity, we have the Pee Wee program practicing right there at the high school, and it's nice to have them right there and see those teams practicing. And we want to get some of our high school kids out there. Going through a whole day of school and then practicing for a couple hours. Some of it's hard for some of them, but we've had some kids say, "Hey, coach, I'll go out there." And I know it goes back to their experience in Pee Wee. They want to give back and be a part of that, and that's next level stuff too, because those little guys look up to them, and
absolutely
they have no idea what's going on at that level, but they see that big kid with the football jersey, and he's here to help me out. That's awesome. So we want to cultivate that as much as possible too. So that's been kind of nice this year.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had several kids out there already this year, and I think that's going to increase now that we're into the regular season.
Yeah,
right? They're not doing all their summer activities, and we can get back into a routine here. But yeah, we've had a handful of kids out there, and it's great. We had that years ago when we were practicing with you guys. And the neat thing is that most of those kids were those Pee Wee kids 6 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
And so it's come full circle. And again, that's where the program and that culture comes together. So.
Saw the numbers you had out there last night. Incredible, the number of young men that you were able to bring out and put out there on the field that are involved through the elementary school program. You're recruiting. Obviously, you're getting a ton of that done and bringing these young people. I say recruiting. It's not like you're looking for specific talents. You're just looking for kids that want to play.
We just want to get kids off the couch.
You
get
bet.
them out there playing, being athletic, moving their body. If they fall in love with the sport, they fall in love with the sport. My job is to get them to John, right? If we can get them to fall in love with the sport and want to be out there on Friday nights, we've done our job. But most importantly is just get them healthy, get them moving, right?
Coach, thanks for coming by. Coach, thanks for bringing Eric in.
Yes.
Eric Leffler with the Pee Wee program here at Wabasee. They had a big night at the field last night. They had a lot of kids out there. When we come back, we will talk to Wabasee assistant varsity football coach Mike Casey. Mike, oh my God, look at him back there. He's doing all sorts of administration work. What is this? He's a vice principal, too. We might get into that. And he's a traitor because he left me in the booth. But that's all right. That's all right. We'll talk about all that coming up next here on Coach's Corner at 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner with Coach Jon Reutebuch on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Coach Reutebuch, another one of your assistants, a varsity assistant, a guy I know, a traitor to the broadcasting community, Coach Michael Casey. Thanks for bringing him by. Coach Casey, thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me. Real excited about being here.
Hey, Michael's back where he belongs. So, I've coached with Mike, I think it was about 8 years. We coached together, and I got to see Mike firsthand and how he works with kids and his football, vocabulary, his football mentality and technique. And, Mike really gets after it, and he's got great enthusiasm. And he kind of joked around over the last couple of years about, hey, maybe I'll come out there and help you guys out a little bit. And I just kind of poo-pooed it and said, you're an administrator now. You don't have time for us, at that level and things like that. Well, we had a need this year as far as coaching staff. And one of the things with my staff is we're pretty young. The guys are really young. I'm kind of the old guy of the crew, and there's not a lot of experience on my staff. And so one of the things I was looking to do is increase the experience on my staff and kind of have a little more balance. And approach Mike, and I know Mike well enough that I know the way to get to Mike is through his stomach. So took him out to breakfast and kind of laid it out, and what I thought we maybe could work out to where, with his busy schedule, because he is an assistant principal at Milford and very busy with that, especially at the beginning of the year. And so try to work through some things there, how we could schedule that in, and basically asked if you can give us one night a week, we'll make sure we have defensive practice for that. And then, Friday night and occasionally on a Saturday morning, we want to get him in here too. And he's been wonderful. He's worked well with the kids, and kids have responded, and he brings that experience. Mike was a defensive coordinator. I don't know if you know that for a while.
The fact that Mike could coordinate anything is amazing to me, but a defensive coordinator.
Hey, I know this is a session about asking me questions, but I haven't gotten many words in right now.
Do you catch a pattern here, Mike?
Yeah, I'm in a very minimal amount of time here to talk.
So,
Which is a good thing.
Yes, that is a good thing.
Yes. Needless to say, Mike has been a great addition to our staff, and we appreciate having him. And so, Mike, what would be one of your motivations besides the breakfast to come back and get out of the booth and get back on the field and coach? I mean, why? What is your why?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, kind of what John had said, I started in 2007. We worked together for 8 years in different capacities, whether it be JV, freshman, varsity level, getting a chance to be a defensive coordinator. And then I wanted to take that administration route. I thought to meet the community at a bigger perspective and meet the kids and communicate and do what I can more of a bigger scene, if that makes sense. And I always told John, I said, hey, if you ever need me, if you're ever in a pinch, let me know and I'll help you out. And so as time went, I was down at another school, came back, got a chance to come back here. So going in this year, John had reached out and said, hey, you want to meet up for breakfast? Just to connect too. John and I are friends. And when I first started, I was a young buck coming in, teaching and coaching. And John was very much a mentor, as he's a good friend as well. But it was great to see he had done everything from Pee-wee to middle school to high school. So he paid his dues, and now obviously he's had the opportunity to be the head football coach. So anyway, going back to my why, he took me out to breakfast. Actually, two, not just one breakfast, but I had two purchased. Just so I clarify on the record here.
I took Michael out to breakfast once, and after dinner was over, we finally got something done. I understand what you're talking about.
It was a hard. I loved working in the booth with you guys. Obviously, it was a great time, and when John had asked me to do that, I think my why ultimately at the end of the day is it's not about me. It's about paying it forward and getting into coaching, getting into teaching. I was kind of talking with Kaz a little bit earlier. I said I didn't have a desire to get into teaching. It just kind of all fell into place for me. I had people that infused positivity and gave me an opportunity to be successful, and through that's kind of how coaching came about. So in those conversations for breakfast, which they were very good, it was a delicious breakfast, multiple copious amounts of coffee. It came to light that John needed me to help out. He told me that it's not about, I don't need you here every single day, but when you're here, I need you to be here. And so we've, like I said, worked out a schedule on Wednesdays and Friday nights. So it's a really great opportunity as well. Last night I got to work with Coach Zapst. Specifically, John would get on the radio, talk with us on the defensive side, and he'd be switching back and forth on the offensive side. But during that conversation, just seeing what we see up top, as you guys know, what's the defense doing? How are the linebackers coming up at 2 yards? You can see the blitzes coming, just their formations. So just to have a little bit of knowledge and it's more of a conversation. That's pretty much what Andy and I had the entire night about, hey, what do you think stunt-wise we should do? Should we send a blitz? It's third and long. What do you think that there's a couple plays that they could do? So the why is, again, giving back. It's an opportunity. I missed it. It's anytime you coach and you go away from it, you have that itch to come back and do it, and Coach provided that opportunity. So I'm real excited to be back.
Yeah, Mike played high school football at Concord and went on to Taylor University and played there. And
it's a nice little promo. I appreciate this. I should come every Saturday for these
I want to give
when
people
you hand out your resume before the interview,
Yeah.
it's just not
with highlights and pictures.
We get the point, all right? We get the point.
Too kind.
I want to give people a background. Mike is a true lover of football. And it's been a part of his life, and he has seen the benefits personally that football can give you. And I think that's what he's saying right now is that, he's seen how football has affected his life in a positive way, and he wants to do that as well. And, we're glad to have him. So, Mike, how has it been getting with the high school kids and, getting to know the guys, and they're getting used to your personality, and what do you see as far as progression with the kids you're working with?
Yeah, that's a great conversation starter. Coach asked me, he said, hey, we got practice, and being into the summer, the schedule's not as crazy with administrative work, obviously leading up to school and school starting. So Coach I was able to be there for team camp, talking about what that's like. So 3 days in a row, I was like, man, this is exciting. And then obviously as school starts, the spread of that. But I said, hey, I need to find my ball on a stick. So for many of that may listen and not know, a lot of times our defense reacts to when the ball moves. And so you don't want to be encroachment. You don't want to be offsides. And so I had to find my ball on a stick. So it's pretty much an old golf ball, or a golf club, with a taped on football. And pretty much, you could say, what they need to focus in on is the ball movement. So that was kind of an exciting thing. I found it in the back of my garage. I sent John a picture, and I said, I think I'm ready to go. And he's like, calm down. We don't practice for a couple days. But I see that connecting with the kids, again, being out, and I started at the high school level teaching and coaching, went to a 7 and 8 building, and now I'm in a K to 8 building. So I've kind of gone away from high school, still being a part of it, coming to games and athletic events. But working with young kids, when you step away for a while, how do they react and respond? Gone is the day and age where it's like everybody, when coaches used to bark at us or they give you that motivational speak, everybody's ready to run through a wall. There's just different ways to communicate with certain kids and different ways to communicate in certain situations. And so I feel like the guys have been receptive. I'm really appreciative of that. learning some enthusiasm. Like, man, he's got a lot of energy. I think at one point in time I came out for a scrimmage or practice and had coffee in my hand. I'm like, is that coffee? Yeah, I mean, I just got to make sure, I'm continuing to fill myself with that coffee. And they're like, I'm not sure what that means, but we'll take it. So the enthusiasm that, like Coach had said very, very kindly in his comments about me, just providing that, I really want to leave a positive impression. If I were to die tomorrow, I want people to know that I have a positivity that hopefully could spread. It's just that concept of paying it forward. If I can pay it forward to one, and that one could pay it forward to someone else, that's really what life's all about. Being able to, that cyclical mindset of helping others. And so it's been a little challenging because being in the booth, I walk and move all the time. So I was kind of sitting and I'm writing and I'm moving and just communicating. It's hard when you see something and how you want to explain it to a kid or a player, but how they need to understand it, how they need to hear it. Mm-hmm. Hey, you need to see what, da-da-da-da. When this happens in front of you, here's what you need to do. Almost some guys you have to break it down like a script, and other guys you say it and they'll go. So just learning that process. So it's been a good start in the sense of how the guys are working, how they're responding, and practice has been fun. It gives me a little bit of step away from the office and get fired up and get after it a little bit. So that's been great too. So
yeah. And for Andy, I know if Andy was here this morning, he would say it's invaluable to have somebody that's worn the defensive coordinator hat upstairs, feeding you information and telling you what's going on the field and reminding you of what's in the scouting report and things like that. So, most people don't understand the whole headphones thing, but we have people upstairs. You can get a better view of the field and see what's going on the opposite side of the field, whereas you on the sideline may not be able to see it. You can see the sideline. Hey, this kid's down here. We need him at safety. He's down here to your left, that kind of thing. It is a valuable communication tool during a game. And so, we also have video that we can check and look at and say, hey, this is what happened on that play and those kind of things. So having Mike up there is invaluable. Having Mike on the practice field is invaluable, and we're glad to have him back and his experience, and it's only going to pay dividends for us.
Mike, you've got this breadth of experience over time. Kids today are not the same as they were when you started in football at Concord. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about, you talk about talking to them differently, mm-hmm. but talk a little bit about that difference now. Mm-hmm. That it's made it a little more difficult to get kids even to come out for football because we have to get to that kid in the way that kid is coming to the game.
Yeah. I don't want to go on a diatribe of life now, but right. It was different even when the late 90s, early 2000s. I don't want to say social media. I don't want to get into the whole. Yeah. There's a lot of things that are tugging at kids nowadays, whether it's video games, and that was kind of back in the day too, whether it's doing things. I think there's just so many things tugging and so many things that say, you don't need to do that, do this. So you just want to have guys that are passionate about it. What I mean about talking to the guys, as Coach said, I played for Concord. Tim Dawson was there for 25 years. He was one of the better motivational coaches that we've had. He'd get us fired up, ready to run through a wall. But that's different now, and Coach does a great job of getting our guys ready to go. But some guys, they don't need that, and some guys do. And so it's the idea of how you talk to the guys. It's what they need to hear and how they need to hear it and at what time they need to hear it. Mm-hmm. So it's really you got to be pretty unique in how you go about it. I don't even know if unique is the right word. Yes and no. You don't want to try. You don't want to play psychological games with the guys. I know that's not what you're saying, but you have to, again, say it. It's got to be the right time and the right placement to say what you need to say to that individual. Sure. To get them going.
And just to add to that, I think what Mike's saying, and it's kind of like in teaching as well. I mean, it is teaching. Mm-hmm. It's just different classroom.
Extension of the classroom, correct.
Some kids need a pat on the back.
Yep.
Some kids need you to get after them. Some kids, respond well to adversity. Some kids don't. And so finding that connection with each kid is a great challenge to coaching and to teaching. And so, Mike is an educator. Mike is taught in the classroom. He's an administrator. He's been a coach. And so he knows how to do those things. And so again, it's great for our kids, and parents can trust that, he's doing a great job and has their son's best interests at heart when he's coaching them up.
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
What you said, like even in practice on Wednesday, I just had to communicate. There was a lack of focus on one of our drills, and I had to make sure that I specifically spoke to a few individuals that had that lack of focus. And after that, as we transitioned from the turf field over to the grass field, I pulled two of them aside and said, "Listen, guys," I said, "I need you to continue to work and focus in on what we're doing. Don't get so caught up in what you think is going on elsewhere. Just reshaping that mindset to say, whatever's going on, whatever you're like, this is the time in these next 2 hours, I need you to be focused on this, because that's what's going to enrich and better you. If you let other things tie into that, we're going to, it's going to be time wasted." And so they really understood that. They were receptive, and I'm talking to them like I was talking to you. I said, I get on you in the sense of, I want you to be the best you can be, because it's my job to do that for you. And hopefully one day you can, in return, do that for someone else.
Absolutely.
And so that was a great example for me, because I kind of had to figure that out on the fly, bringing those guys over and saying, "Hey guys, I want you to be your best, and you need to be teammates to better yourself, not worsen yourself." So,
as a defensive expert, where do you see us defensively? What do you think we're really going to be able to really hammer down and bring to the game defensively this year?
expert, never on my resume, just so you
Wait a
know
minute, let me check.
that resume. Really, at the end of the day, it starts up front, and I know Coach knows that. But your defensive line is you talk about it in the trenches. That's a point where we saw some really good success going back to Mishawaka Marion. We saw some success in that last night. We had some really good fits in the sense of we'll call it a fit. Your defensive line is holding. We talk about gap integrity. If you have an A gap, a B gap, a C gap, it's integrity. You keep in that gap. Linebackers are filling. They just did a better job, running through that. Coach talked about that a little bit already. But the defensive line, you're shifting, you're moving. That's the start. We always talk about your linebackers should be All-Americans. They should be your number one tackle statistics guys. You shouldn't have your safeties or your corners be that, because that means they're getting outside, or that means they're getting to the third level on the defense. So what does the defense look like? In my mind, you start with the 4 up front guys, a quality rotation. We've got good depth there. We got to keep our guys healthy. Coach talked about swimming this morning, working the bumps and bruises out. Not only do you have your defensive stuff, your defensive line, your linebackers, getting guys experience. Coach talked about, we got a lot of guys that played freshman football last year, and their first game was Friday Night Lights. This year as a sophomore, there was a lot to take in. It was a very hot night. It was a very humid night. I don't want to use excuses, but it was the idea that this is a new thing to a lot of guys. And so you've got to really just understand that starts with the D-line. Your mainstays should be your linebackers, and your safeties and corners are just your cleanup guys. And so I really feel like we've got a lot of strengths, and like Coach says, you got to tighten some screws on a few things, dial some things in, and we'll be able to do that this week and get ready to go for next week against West Noble.
Mike Casey of the Wabasee Warriors. He's defensive assistant coach this year for Coach Reutebuch. Coach, thanks for being with us today. When
Thank
we
you.
come back, we'll talk about next week's opponent, West Noble, here on the Coach Jon Reutebuch Show on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to the Coach Jon Reutebuch Show on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Coach Ken Szynal and I are here with Coach Jon Reutebuch, head football coach of the Wabasee Warriors. Coach, we walk right into the next week and we see West Noble right in the headlights. They're right there, and that's where we're headed over to their place on Friday night.
Yeah, that's our next opportunity to get better, and that's the next opportunity we have to, if I say, wash the bad taste out of our mouth from the Tippy Valley game. You learn from a game like the Tippy Valley game, and then you try to have a short memory. Get it out of your system. You can't do anything about that. You got to move forward, and that's really the same philosophy we're trying to get across to kids on the field. Is, okay, they got to play on us. Teams are going to get plays on us. Or, okay, you made a mistake, but that's okay. We make mistakes. We got to move on and make sure it doesn't compound itself into 2 or 3 in a row to where a team gets a big drive or gets another big play and those kind of things. So the same thought process goes into individual play as it does seasonal games. And so, we're going to be focused on West Noble, and I guarantee you they're going to be focused on us. After last year's game and where we had the upper hand in that game, I'm sure they're looking to try to get back that momentum. And we have to make that long trek up the hill at West Noble, which is always an adventure. And I'm sure Monty Mayorder, their head coach, is going to have his kids ready to play and looking for their first victory as well, as they played Central Noble last night and lost 21-14, I believe was the score. So, you have two teams that lost in week one are looking to even their record and get back on track. And so it should be a really good football game. It's a close neighbor. A lot of kids know each other. And so that adds to the interest level of the game. And I'm sure that we're going to have our hands full, and we're going to have to show up, and we're going to have to put out a better performance than we did against Tippy Valley.
Coach, one of the things that I've always, since I've been here just a few million years, is this West Noble Wawasee competition. And it's really interesting. And a lot of the kids are going to the same churches. They're in some of the same clubs, so they know each other from like kindergarten all the way through. And to be able to compete at all these different sports, especially football and basketball and all the other ones, I think it's just really neat to have a place that close, that great a system to play against.
Yeah, it creates a natural rivalry.
That's what I was trying to say. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, and it's a good competition. I think the kids truly like each other, but they also want to win against each other.
It's a different rivalry than we have with, say, Warsaw. All right, our rivalry with Fairfield or our rivalry with West Noble is friendly.
Yeah.
But I like what you said that, Bill.
But in the same token, I mean, it's not. I don't want to say too friendly.
No, it's serious.
You want to win.
It's serious, and it's definitely kids get after it, and you want bragging rights and all those kind of things. But for us, it's another chance for us to settle into our identity as a team and to get back on track and confidence back and get ourselves ready for NLC play, which is, it's going to be the next level.
What do you think this team's identity is going to be?
Well, we have to get to a point that mentally tough aspect. We really got to work on that. We have talent. I'm not sure the kids understand that, but we have talent. I've been around football for 29 years, and we have speed. We have size. We have strength. We have all those things. And to get the team working together in those aspects, that's your challenge as a coach. And to get all those moving parts working and getting guys, bought in and doing, do their 111. Trust the guy next to you that he's going to do his job. Don't try to do something else. Do what you're supposed to do. Once you get that, then you start having success. So our team identity is got to be, as I said before, we got to run the ball. We got to be able to run the football, and everything can build off of that. And I don't think that's just a Wawasee thing. I think that's football 101. Right. You got to be able to run the football, and you got to be able to stop the run. And if you're lacking in either one of those, you're going to have a hard time.
Football is kind of unique in the fact that while you have individual responsibilities, you have shared responsibilities within your side of the ball. So by which I mean, like, your secondary people have similar kinds of responsibilities, and they would develop a certain
skill set
within themselves and a certain reliance within themselves, while your linebackers and then your line people would have each one a different set of skill sets and also a different relationship amongst themselves. That kind of thing's got to be difficult, because I can think of at least 10 different groups on the field with special teams that are going to have 10 different sets of skill sets and 10 different sets of relationships amongst themselves.
Yeah, and that goes back to the teaching aspect, too, the whole method. You show them the big picture, then you break it down into this is what your job is on this, and this is what your job is on this, and then you bring it back together and put those parts together. And you're exactly right. And that's why football now is you need more coaches. It's specialized in areas, and our defenses are. It's not the old 5-2 and run the ball in the cloud of dust. The tailback gets the ball 30 times.
Yeah, right.
And, that doesn't exist anymore. Now, the basics of the game exist. You got to be able to run the football, and you got to be able to do those kind of things. But there's a lot more technique and aspects. And Eric talked about even at the young level, teaching them proper tackling.
Yes.
I mean, that goes all the way up to the NFL. And you know, some people don't realize, kids and maybe other people in the community don't realize that they still do those fundamentals and basics all the way at the top level. And that's one of the most important aspects of getting the fundamentals and the technique down, and then putting that all together in the team aspect. And so
that's part of that team grit that you're talking
about. Absolutely. And so, you know, we look at our team, and one game does not make a season, and that's one of the things I talked about to the kids last night, and I'll talk to this morning is that we need to improve from here. We need to learn from it. And then we need to put it in the rearview mirror and focus totally on West Noble and our next opportunity.
Talk about that a little bit, will you, Coach? What you're going to do in practice to be able to do that? I think, you know, now you've got a whole season ahead of you. You've got a good, you know, you're going to have play well against West Noble. It's an away game. So what specifically are you going to try to do to improve this?
I think Coach is saying, what's practice going to look like for the next week?
Thanks, Bill.
So Monday is Mental Monday. And we watch film on West Noble, and we have scouting report.
Monday. I like that.
And we put in, okay, this is how we're going to attack them. This is what we're going to do against what they like to do. So kids know going into the week, this is what we're working in against, and this is what we're looking for. And that's Monday. And in high school football, you can only have so many contact days.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so,
oh, wow, that's changed.
Yeah, and then we'll go out to the field and we'll walk through some things and do some things out there. And then Tuesday is offensive day, so most of the practice is dedicated to offense. We'll do a little defense at the end, and every day we do some kind of special teams. And then Wednesday's defensive day. Where most of the practice is dedicated to defense. We'll do a little bit of offense at the end because you can't go a whole day without doing some of it, and we'll do some special teams. And then Thursday is the dress rehearsal. We put it all together, go over our fine points of remembering, you know, what we need to do, what they do, making sure our special teams are squared away on who's the group that should be out there in the field and what they like to do and what we're going to do. And Friday night you come out and you put it all together and hope they have learned what they need to learn and recognize what they see on film and everything when they get out there and they take what we did in practice and put it into play on the game field.
Yeah, it's going to be a good week, and it's going to be good to work with the kids to be able to do this and come up with a W next week.
And you know, the mentality too of, hey, we need to go back to work.
Yes.
You know, we spent all summer, you know, doing this and that, and so you don't really know for real until you get to that first game. Okay, now we see where we are. Now we know what we need to work on, and let's work on getting better at this aspect as well as getting ready for what West Noble wants to do.
You know, the one thing we didn't cover this week, how did your freshman and your JV do this past week?
The freshman game, they didn't have a freshman game. Goshen didn't have a freshman team this year. And so that game was canceled. And the freshmen will be playing with the JV at the end of the season. That's what Goshen has as a C team, which is a combination of those sophomores, maybe even some juniors and freshmen. And so they didn't have a game this week.
Gotcha.
And so they had practice instead that day. And the JV are on their way to Tippy Valley this morning.
That's right.
They'll be playing at noon, which is unusual. Usually we play 10. All our games are at 10, but this morning will be at noon, and I imagine that has something to do with the Three Rivers Conference and how they do their JV schedule. So our kids will be traveling over there and getting their much-needed football experience and development. And that's what JV football is about. You want to win.
You want to play.
You want to win, but the kids got to play.
You got to play. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
but at noon, that's going to be tough with this weather.
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be like last
hopefully
night.
It's not as cranky. You know,
it's
afternoon,
humid out there.
Late afternoon, and even early evening is probably the hottest part of the day. You know, turf is hotter.
Is it?
than
Yeah.
grass. Yeah, it's.
I guess that would make sense.
They tell us it's about 20 degrees hotter on the turf than it is.
Wow.
So
I would never have guessed it was that much.
If the temperature's 80 degrees, then it's probably upper 90s out on the turf, and
Wow.
so that makes a difference too. But it's the same conditions for both teams. No,
Well,
excu-
yeah, no,
no
yeah.
excuses. So
Hey, just real quickly, tell me the difference. I've never, when I walked on turf the first time here at Wawasee, I thought, wow, this is, I don't think I would like it. Give me the deal on the turf versus.
what turf gives you is consistency in your footing.
Yeah.
You're not stepping in a hole and twisting an ankle or slipping because
Yep.
a piece of grass is loose, or you just had a game in the rain and there's all these big chunks and divots, or you kick an extra point at the same spot. Every team does, and there's big divot there, and
Or
so
you go
it's
over to Hobart and there's no grass left, and there hasn't been any for 30 years.
or Mishawaka.
Yeah.
They had some kind of disease on their field
Yes.
last year, and they had wide swaths of sand
Yes, they
in
did.
spots, which is unique. And so that's what the turf does. And then, of course, when you have a grass field, somebody's got to mow it, somebody's got to paint it, somebody's got to repair it, and God forbid you get some kind of grass disease, then you have a mess too. And so, that speaks somewhat to the safety of the kids.
turf.
And it is definitely, the kids like playing on turf as opposed to grass.
That was
absolutely.
a good point to
And
cover.
I think we play on grass twice this year, and so the rest of the
Wow.
year we're on turf because that's what schools are doing. They're putting in turf. It's easier to take care of. It's better for the kids, and it could be pouring down rain all morning long, and in the afternoon, it's still the same.
Yeah.
It's not going to be different. Whereas your field's soaked and it's slippery and all that stuff. So
That
that's
was
the
point.
difference.
That was the point I was hoping you'd make too. Which one is better? And evidently, it is the turf.
by
It's
far.
by far better than the
Yeah,
grass.
I think if you talk to any of our kids, they would prefer
the
turf
turf.
over grass. But
yeah.
Coach, thanks for having us over this morning. Appreciate it. This has been the Coach Jon Reutebuch Show on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. WRWTLP, Syracuse.